I have some pretty big news. Well, pretty big news for me at least. I started this YouTube channel with the crazy hope that one day somebody would send me a free piece of audio gear to review. And I'll be honest with you, I really thought that that would take like 3 to 5 years before that would ever happen. But guess what? It just happened, and I've only been doing this channel for less than 1 year. Fosi Audio reached out and asked if I would be interested in reviewing their new amplifier, the TB10D. And of course, I said yes. So let me tell you a little bit more about this little amp. We'll go over some of the features, talk about how it sounds overall, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about why this amplifier has me asking myself, is this tiny little amp the future of hi-fi? Now you can imagine how excited I was to receive an email from Fosi Audio asking if I'd be interested in reviewing one of their products. But I'm such a new channel that I honestly had that little voice in my brain that was like, this is too good to be true, they will never send it, which is silly to think because of course they sent me the amp, and I was so excited when I got that knock on my front door last week from the UPS man. I walked outside and found the box and knew it was from Fosi and that I was going to get a chance to review one of their products. So basically, all Fosi Audio items come in this box, and their tagline is sort of hi-fi made fun. I wanted to show you a little bit of how this comes in the box while I tell you a little bit more about kind of why I started this YouTube channel and kind of how excited I am to be able to receive something like this. So, long story short, I started Forever Analog as a blog only. And I had been buying and selling vintage audio gear and even newer products for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years. And I was always posting about it on my Instagram page or Facebook. And I started to get a lot of questions from friends about items. You know, should I buy this Pioneer? Should I buy this Marantz? Or I just bought this Marantz and I have no idea how to connect my turntable. How do I do all these things, right? And so I basically started, I would have to text them or call or do FaceTime to show them how to do everything. It occurred to me, if I just had this written down somewhere, I could just send it to them. That's how many questions I was getting. So I started the blog, and the blog would basically answer simple questions like, how do I connect my turntable to an aux input? Something along those lines. Then it occurred to me that if I had a video, I could send them a video just showing it, because I would sometimes just make a video showing on my units here and then text that to them. And so I thought, wow, if I had that video available all the time, I could just send that as well. So that's really the main reason why I started this channel, is to be able to have a place to put information that I could send people easily when they ask me questions. Then I started getting questions asking me about specific products and what I thought about them, and so I thought, well, maybe I should do reviews. That's how we got to Forever Analog, the YouTube channel, and me reviewing products. So inside, I keep knocking my little minor threat here. By the way, this is by the artist Nathan McKee. I always get questions in the comments asking me who made this. So Nathan McKee did. It's great. You can go to his website if you just Google Nathan McKee and buy one there yourself. So here's the box. I'm kind of having trouble with it, so I'm going to set it down here. Basically, inside is the amp itself, small little user manual, and the power adapter, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. Okay, let me put this box away here. So the first thing, obviously, you're going to notice is just how small this amplifier is. And this is probably a good way for me to show you how small it is, but I thought it would be fun to kind of give you some real-life examples of putting this amp into small, tight places and show you just how small it is. You can easily fit this in your mailbox. Hey, if it gets dirty, you could always just throw it in the dishwasher. Well, how about the microwave? Just kidding, I'm not going to start it. Lastly, I just wanted to point out the size difference between the last receiver I reviewed, which was this Pioneer SX980, which came out in 1978. You know, your traditional Class AB amplifier at 80 watts per channel, versus the Fosi Audio Class D at a reported 300 watts per channel. I just think it's hysterical, the size difference between these two units. The natural question is, of course, Why are these so small? And these are Class D amplifiers made in China. Now, the thing that's worth noting about Class D amplifiers is that they use a lot less power than a traditional Class AB amplifier, like, for instance, that vintage Pioneer 980 that I was showing earlier. So because these consume less power, they are a lot more efficient, and they can just simply be smaller. And the main reason is because they're not putting out a lot of heat. Like, they're not hot. And on classic vintage units, or even more modern Class AB amplifiers, you always need to have a heat sink that the transistors are connected to so that it can dissipate the heat and not blow up your amplifier. That's what's traditional on a Class A or Class AB amplifier. But with these small Class D, because they're so efficient, you don't need that heat sink, which helps it be so small. It's worth pointing out that I think one of the reasons why Fosi reached out to me about reviewing their new amplifier is because I had purchased on my own their previous product, which was the BT20A amplifier, and made a review on my channel about this one. And I'll include a link to that video in the description below. So after seeing that one posted, they reached out and asked me about reviewing the new amp, and of course I said yes. So let's get right to it. I'm going to grab the camera and we're going to get up close, and I'm going to show you the front of the unit and the rear of the unit. We're going to go through the features and talk about what this little amp can and can't do. Real quick before I forget, I was editing this video, I realized that I forgot to mention one thing, and I want to be fully transparent on my channel here. So it's worth pointing out that yes, Fosi Audio sent me this product for free, but they're not compensating me for this review. Didn't have any opinion on the review before I posted it. So just wanted to point that out before we get too deep into the video. So we've already discussed just how small this little guy is, and I also wanted to point out that this is the upgraded model. I know Randy from Cheap Audio Man has made 2 videos about this TB10D, the first being awful and the second being upgraded and fixed, and that is the model that I have here. Now, I want to point out that if you go look this up on Amazon, it will say it's 300 watts per channel, so a total of 600 watts, which is kind of surprising. Now, it's worth noting that if you read carefully, you will see that it's not actually 300 watts per power with the supplied power cord here. You actually have to buy a 48 volt 10 amp power supply instead of this one that they supply. So I don't actually know what the total watts per channel for this unit is with the provided power supply. Now, there's very little to talk about when you're reviewing one of these small Class D amplifiers. It's really, I mean, as easy as it is just looking at this right in front of you. You got a little power switch here. You got your 2-tone controls, treble and bass, and you've got your volume knob right here. And that is basically it for the front of the unit. One more thing I wanted to point out with the TB10D is that it does not, it does not come with a remote control. Looking at the back of the unit, you will see that there's only one RCA line input. Now, you could hook up a preamp to this and then hook up all your components like your CD player or streamer or turntable to that preamp and then in here. Or you can hook up a device directly to that RCA input, whether it be a CD player or streaming DAC. Now, please note, there is no phono input on this amp. So if you have a turntable, it either has to have a built-in phono preamp that will connect directly here, or you will need to buy an external preamp, connect your turntable to the preamp, and then connect the preamp here in order to get sound. Speaker binding right here, you can hook up one set of speakers. The manual says you can go down as low as 2 ohms all the way up to 8 ohms. Now, one thing about this, if this is sort of made for beginners, there's not a lot of room back here, and in order to insert the wire, if you're not using banana plugs, you have to sort of find these holes here and insert the wire there and then connect it this way. So if you are a beginner and just hooking one of these up for the first time, please make sure you do not power this on and then try to hook up your speakers, because there's a good chance, this is very tight, there's a good chance your wires will cross while you've got it powered up and it will explode and blow this little amp up. That goes for pretty much any amplifier. You never want to have the power on while connecting the speakers. But since these are inexpensive beginner units, I see a lot of people buy these and they're just not sure how to hook them up, and they power them on and then try to hook up the speakers. So speaker first, power second. That's where your power is going to connect right there. Now, there's one thing that I forgot to mention that I think is very important for the TB10D, and that is there is no Bluetooth, okay? Bluetooth does not come with this version. If you're interested in Bluetooth, you may be more interested in the other Fosi audio unit, the BT20A. As you'll see back here, it's got an antenna for Bluetooth connectivity. So when shopping for these inexpensive amps, be sure to make sure that if Bluetooth is important, that you buy the one that's offered versus the one where it is not. Now, this unit is priced at just $89.99. You will oftentimes find them on sale. For instance, right now, it's currently $79.99. Now, that low price has me asking myself, are these tiny little amps the future of hi-fi? I think the best way for me to answer that is by using an analogy. So you're probably wondering why I'm sitting in my used 2004 Honda Civic to talk about this amplifier. And I think this plays into my analogy on the future of hi-fi. And it all comes down to two things, because when we talk about the future of hi-fi, it's a very broad concept. And I don't want to think about hi-fi in general, like the hi-fi shows where you go to the hotel rooms and you listen to $100,000 speakers. That is out of most of our abilities. People that just enjoy listening to music amplified in a good way at an affordable price. And that got me thinking that really these Fosi audio amplifiers that are Class D and they're small and they have a lot of power, they're really great for people that are just getting into hi-fi. And there's a lot of people out there that just hate these amps. They hate the fact that they're made in China. They don't like that they're Class D, and they say they sound terrible. And a lot of these people have been in the audio game for a long time, and so they are using their current experience to talk about an item that is really more geared towards when maybe they would have first begun. So for instance, for me, I'm in my 40s and I've had stereo gear for over 30 years. So when I pick up a product like this, my first reaction is like, I don't like it. It's too cheap. People need to spend more money to get better sound. But then I take a step back and I think about when I was in my early 20s and I had just graduated from college and I had a very low paying job, and a couple years later I got married and had kids, and I didn't have the resources to buy expensive audio gear. I remember one time my receiver blew up. It was just a cheap sort of like Sony receiver or whatever, and I went and shopping for another AVR receiver, and it was really expensive for me at that time. We're talking like $400. And I think back to that time, and if I had, this was before, you could go online on Amazon and find a $90 amp. But I think about that time in my life, and if I had needed an easy solution to get back to listening to music that sounded good, definitely good enough, this would have been the perfect solution for me. I also think about maybe when I was 16 years old and I really wanted to start listening to music a lot louder and with more detail than maybe the crappy little boombox I had at the time, right? Again, if I had gone shopping at that time in my life, this would have been the perfect gateway drug. And that's what I'm thinking about when I call these the future of hi-fi, because I think that these amplifiers at their price point and their performance are a perfect gateway drug for newcomers into hi-fi. Now, the reason why I'm sitting in my Honda here is because you got to remember when you were young and you had to go buy your first car, you didn't go buy the brand new Lexus or Tesla or whatever was sitting on the lot brand new. Maybe some of you did, but I would imagine that most of us weren't able to afford that purchase. We bought a used car that did what we hoped it would do. It didn't do it uber fancy. It wasn't super sexy. It didn't look like maybe all the other great new cars on the lot, but it got us to where we needed to go. And as we got older, we were able to buy more expensive cars. I bought this car for my sons when they turned 16 because it was going to be the perfect little car to get them around town. And that's exactly what it did. When they left for college, we got them something a little bit better. And that goes to my other point in hi-fi. To me, hi-fi is not right or wrong. There's not a right product or a wrong product. And I think once we start making those determinations, that's when we chase people away from this hobby. And we just start, we start turning them off by saying it's right or wrong. Hi-fi is a journey. And for me, these affordable amplifiers are the beginning of one's journey. And once they start to hear how these things sound and just how audio can sound, whether it's by hooking up a CD player or upgrading their streaming services from Spotify to Apple Music or Tidal, something with a little bit more detail and more, just more oomph, right? Like as they start learning those things, they're gonna get interested in buying more expensive hi-fi gear. And so for me, my goal with this channel is not to tell everyone you shouldn't buy these, that it's wrong to purchase something this cheap. For me, I want this channel to be a place where I can educate and encourage someone who may have just bought this. Tell them that it's okay, you made a good purchase at the beginning, but over time, keep getting interested in this hobby. Keep researching and watching more YouTube videos and more reviews and reading magazines and blog articles about products that are coming out, and again, encourage them to upgrade over time and buy something that will satisfy them more as they sort of age into this hi-fi hobby. Okay, enough ranting from me about the future of hi-fi. Let's go back inside and talk about how this unit sounds. How does this little amplifier sound? Now, if you're someone that likes to refer to themselves with that A word, audiophile, I'm just going to come right out of the gate and tell you that this little small Class D amplifier is not going to be the proper substitute for your expensive tube gear. Don't throw all that away and expect to use this for critical hi-fi listening. Same thing I mentioned in the review about the BT20A. However, if you're someone that is new to audio, or let's say even you're someone that loves hi-fi and has expensive gear, and you're interested in having a second unit somewhere or something in your garage, or connecting one of these to your computer, just for better playback in those areas, you really can't go wrong. Like this would be perfect for those scenarios. Like it's the same thing I mentioned in the BT20A, like a garage or a workshop, an office. These are going to give you great sound at that price. Now, the one thing I want to mention is I have a small listening room, and I turn this up the volume knob quarter of the way, and I can hear everything great. Like I haven't even turned this up halfway because I'm worried it'll blow everything out of this room. Maybe a little bit higher than a quarter turn depending on the recording, but you get a lot of power, even though Amazon says it's 600 watts according to Fosi, but they send you a power adapter that doesn't give you that total wattage. So I'm not really sure what actually is the number, but rest assured, this little thing gets really loud, okay? And if that's something you're interested in, you'll be very happy. Now, I'm not a big tone control guy, but this offers tone control. So when I set it at neutral, I wasn't exactly blown away, but all I had to do was get up and adjust the treble and bass to my liking, and you're gonna be able to do the same thing. So if you're worried about treble or bass, don't worry, you can make those adjustments here and get it to just how you would like. So in short, buy this for critical hi-fi listening? No. Buy this for loud sound that's still gonna give you pretty good detail and the ability to adjust the treble and bass to your liking. Yeah, this would be a good purchase for you, especially at either $70 to $90 depending on the sale price. So let's try to answer my question. Do I really think that these little amps are the future of hi-fi? I kind of think so. Regardless of what you think of these cheap Chinese small Class D amplifiers, just go look on Amazon and see the number of reviews that are left for these. There are a lot of them, and we all know that some people never leave reviews, so there's probably that many more people that have purchased one of these. So a lot of people are buying them and a lot of people are enjoying them. So I don't want to find myself telling them that they are right or wrong in buying one of these. Instead, I would rather use this channel, as I mentioned earlier, to educate and encourage people that if they do start with one of these units, to consider upgrading over time. But for now, I think that these little amplifiers are going to be great for somebody just getting into hi-fi. One more thing before I let you go. I really want to offer a sincere thanks to everyone watching this video or everyone that subscribed to my channel within this first year of running it. I honestly, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I thought it would take me 3 to 5 years to get enough subscribers and enough viewers to ever have a piece of audio sent to me for review. Now granted, this is an entry-level piece of gear, and would I like to be able to review more expensive, more hi-fi gears down the road, units down the road? And of course that answer is yes, but I would not have even gotten this far if it hadn't been for you. So anyone watching, a sincere thanks to you, as well as a sincere thanks to Fosi Audio for reaching out and offering me the ability to review this amplifier. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, a couple times really, this isn't the first piece of Fosi Audio gear that I reviewed. I've also reviewed this BT20A. If you're interested in learning more about this unit, you can do so by watching this video here.